I never thought I'd be that girl. The kind of girl who storms out of a bar over a stupid joke. The dramatic one. The scene maker who turns a perfectly good Friday night into some cheap, tear-stained melodrama. But here I am, sitting in the back of an Uber that smells faintly of a cinnamon apple air freshener, my head spinning from the scene that just unfolded in one undeniable truth. I am in fact that girl. My boyfriend Quan. A sculpted masterpiece of charm and just enough smugness to make you question if you were being graced by his attention, had just introduced me as his sister to a flirty waitress. And I left. Just like that. 8 months. It's a strange length of time. Long enough to have a person's coffee order memorized, but short enough, apparently, to still be discovering the bizarre, unsettling corners of their personality. I'd met Quan on a rainy afternoon in a used bookstore. He was looking for a Murakami novel. I was trying to reach a collection of Rupicore poems on the top shelf. He got it down for me, and a conversation bloomed from there. He was smart, witty, and had eyes that crinkled when he smiled. A smile that made me feel like the only woman in the room. For the first few weeks, he was everything I thought I wanted. Good morning texts, spontaneous date nights, compliments that made me blush. He made me feel seen. The irony is almost painful now. But then the tiny cracks started to show. They were so small at first that I nearly convinced myself they were just tricks of the light, figments of my own insecurity in this otherwise bright relationship. It started at a birthday party for one of his friends about 3 months in. The apartment was packed with faces I didn't know. People who shared a university history with him. An entire library of inside jokes I wasn't privy to. I held his hand tightly, a small anchor in a sea of strangers. A pretty blonde girl came over, throwing her arms around Quan in a familiar hug. It's been forever. Who's this? She asked, her eyes flicking to me. I smiled, ready to extend a hand, but Quan was faster. Oh, this is Lynn, he said, his voice casual. She's a friend of a friend. Just ran into her here. A friend of a friend. The words just hung there in the humid, beer-soaked air, cold and sharp. I felt my smile freeze on my face. I looked at him, searching for some sign that this was a mistake. A terrible misspoken joke. He just gave me a quick, conspiratorial wink, as if we were in on some secret game together. Later, when the girl was gone, I tugged on his sleeve. A friend of a friend? Seriously. He laughed, a loud, genuine laugh. Oh, come on, babe. I was just messing around. Did you see the look on her face? It was priceless. I tried to laugh along. I told myself it was just his weird sense of humor. He didn't mean anything by it. He just liked to poke and prod. But on the drive home that night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. It felt like he'd drawn a chalk circle around himself and deliberately placed me just outside of it. A few months after that, it happened again. We were walking through the mall when he stopped abruptly. Oh, Mark. Long time no see, man, he exclaimed, shaking hands with a well-dressed man in a suit. Mark, the friend, glanced at me curiously. Hey there, he said. Quan, instead of making an introduction, theatrically smacked his forehead. Damn, my memory is shot these days. What was your name again? Laura. Lisa. He looked at me, his eyes glittering with mischief. This time I didn't laugh. I felt a hot flush of embarrassment creep up my neck. It's Lynn, I said, my voice tight. His friend gave an awkward chuckle, clearly uncomfortable. Their conversation was short and stilted. The second he was out of earshot, I turned on Quan. What the hell was that? It was a joke, God. He sighed, putting on a look that suggested I was the most tiresome person on the planet. Can't you just relax for a second? Mark was my old boss. I was just trying to break the ice. By making me look like some random person you can't even be bothered to remember? He rolled his eyes. You're always so serious. He slung an arm around my shoulders and pulled me along, starting to talk about a movie he wanted to see. And like an idiot, I let him change the subject. I swallowed it. I swallowed that little ball of hurt and anger, just like I'd swallowed the others. This, I told myself, was just part of the package of dating a guy who was charming and confident. Maybe I was too sensitive. Maybe I needed to learn how to take a joke. Tonight at the bar, though, everything felt different. This place, the Rusty Mug, was our spot. It smelled of spilled beer, fried food, and impending bad decisions. A jukebox in the corner cycled relentlessly through classic rock and country music. The air was so loud you had to shout to be heard. I'd always loved coming here with him. But tonight something felt off. We were with a few of his friends and the waitress, a pretty girl with a high ponytail and an easy confidence that makes you feel slightly inadequate by comparison, clearly had her eye on Quan. She laughed a little too hard at his comments, lingered at our table a little too long, and let her hand brush his arm when she set down his beer. I tried not to let it bother me. He's just being friendly, I told myself. He doesn't always realize when he's being flirted with. I took a sip of my beer and tried to focus on the story his friend was telling. But then I got up to use the restroom. I was gone for 5 minutes, maybe. When I came back, I saw the waitress leaning against our table, laughing in that flirty, head-tilted way. Quan was smirking, that smug little smirk he gets when he thinks he's being incredibly clever. "Oh my God, really?" She giggled, her voice high-pitched. I slid back into my seat, setting my purse in my lap. "What's so funny?" I asked, keeping my voice even. She turned to me, the giggle still bubbling up. "Your brother is hilarious." Brother. The word hit me like a physical blow. Time seemed to slow down. The loud music, the chatter of the crowd, it all faded into a dull roar. There was just me, him, and the word brother hanging between us like an accusation. I looked at him and he was still wearing that smirk. He made no move to correct her. "Yeah," he said to me, as if sharing a brilliant secret. "I told her you were my sister. Just a little joke. Just a little joke." His magic words. His cure-all for every act of disrespect. But this time the spell didn't work. I didn't smile. I didn't say anything. I just stared straight into his eyes, and for what felt like the first time, I think he saw the absolute emptiness there. "Nice," I said, my voice chillingly calm. Then I picked up my purse and stood up. I could feel the eyes of the entire table on me, the surprise from his friends, the confusion from the waitress, and maybe, just maybe, a flicker of panic from him. But I didn't look back. My heart was pounding against my ribs, my face hot with a mixture of shame and fury. I walked straight to the door, pushed open the heavy wooden slab, and stepped out into the cool city night. I pulled out my phone, ordered an Uber, and when it arrived, I climbed into the back seat, staring out the window as the city's neon lights blurred into meaningless streaks of color. He didn't follow me. Of course he didn't. That would have required an admission of guilt. Instead, 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed. A text from him. "You're overreacting. It was just a joke." I didn't reply. I couldn't. My mind was a dizzying carousel, replaying every time he'd made me feel small, every time I'd let it slide, every time I told myself I needed to loosen up. Why did I always laugh it off? Why did I let him get away with it? Because he was handsome? Because he was smart? Because I was afraid of being alone? As the Uber pulled up to my apartment building, another text came through. This time from his friend Hung Lin. "You kinda embarrassed Quan by leaving like that. Everyone's staring. Fantastic." Now I was the villain who ruined everyone's night. I let myself into my apartment, kicked off my heels, and collapsed onto the sofa. I thought about calling Jess, my best friend. She would get it. She would curse him out and tell me to dump him immediately. But instead I just lay there, staring at the ceiling. My phone rang again. My mom. Quan must have called her. "Honey, Quan said you left in the middle of things." My mother's worried voice came through the line. I recited the story, my voice flat and emotionless. She was quiet for a moment, then sighed. "Oh honey, boys will be boys sometimes. They do stupid, thoughtless things. But if you want to keep a man, you have to know how to pick your battles. Pick your battles." But this didn't feel like a battle with him. It felt like a war for my own self-respect. And I had been losing for a long time. The next few days passed in a strange muted haze. I muted my text notifications from Quan and didn't answer his calls. I needed space, I needed silence so I could finally hear my own voice. Jess showed up on Tuesday night with 2 bottles of wine and a large pad thai. She didn't say much at first, just poured me a generous glass. "He's an asshole," she said finally, after I'd finished my story. Her voice was firm. "You deserve someone who treats you like a queen, not like a dirty little secret." "I know," I sighed, swirling the wine in my glass. "But it's not that simple. I mean, when he's not doing that, he's great. He's not a bad person. He's just thoughtless." There's a difference between being thoughtless and being deliberately disrespectful, Jess said, raising an eyebrow at me. Her gaze was sharp. He's 27, Lynn, not 17. He knows exactly what he's doing. He does it because he can, because you let him. Stop making excuses for a grown man's bad behavior. She was right. God, she was so right. But a part of me, the weak part that had grown accustomed to his presence, still wanted to believe it was all a series of misunderstandings. Maybe I should give him one more chance. Maybe we just needed to talk it out. But then I remembered the feeling, that cold, hollow feeling of standing in that loud bar, being the punchline to a joke while my own boyfriend smirked at another woman. It wasn't funny. It was humiliating. It made me feel invisible. I think I need to talk to him, I said finally, setting my glass down. One last time. For closure. Jess nodded. Okay. But promise me something. Don't let him make you doubt yourself again. If you're hurt, you're hurt. That's valid. We met at a neutral coffee shop on Thursday afternoon. He was 5 minutes late and looked annoyed, as if I were inconveniencing him with my feelings. Look, he started as soon as he sat down, not even bothering to order anything. I'm sorry you're upset, but it was really honestly just a joke. You're always so serious about everything. A non-apology. Classic. I took a deep breath, remembering what Jess had said. No, Quan. The issue isn't that I'm upset. The issue is your actions. It's not just this one time. You do this constantly, the weird introductions, acting like we're not a couple. It makes me feel like you're ashamed of me, or that I'm not important enough to be acknowledged. He rolled his eyes, a gesture so familiar it ached. Come on, you're overthinking this. It's just my sense of humor. It's my style. Then your sense of humor sucks, I said, surprised by the steel in my own voice. It's not funny. It's hurtful. I don't want to be in a relationship where I'm constantly wondering when I'm going to be the butt of my boyfriend's next joke. I don't want to be with someone who thinks making me feel small is a form of entertainment. He stared at me, and for a fleeting second I thought he might actually get it, a flicker of hope. But then he shrugged, a casual, indifferent gesture that extinguished it completely. Well, he said, his voice cool. If you can't take a joke, then maybe we're not right for each other. And right there I knew. He would never get it. He didn't want to. Because to get it, he'd have to admit he was wrong. Maybe not, I said, and I stood up. The feeling was strange, a cocktail of relief and grief. I think we're done, Quan. He blinked, genuinely shocked. Wait, what? You're breaking up with me over this. It's not about this, I said, my voice steady even as my heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. It's about everything. It's because I deserve someone who respects me, even when no one else is looking. Goodbye. I turned and walked away, not giving him the chance to say another word. I walked out of the coffee shop, and this time the air didn't feel cold. It felt crisp and clean and new. It was over. Breaking up with him wasn't easy. There were nights I lay awake, replaying the good times, wondering if I'd been too hasty. But then the image of his smug smirk would flash in my mind, and I knew I had done the right thing. Slowly, my world began to regain its color. I started painting again, a hobby I'd pushed aside because I never had the time. I spent weekends taking long walks in the park by myself, reading books and just enjoying the quiet. My friends said I looked happier, brighter, more like myself. My mom, after a period of silence, eventually called back. I don't totally get it, she admitted. But if you feel lighter, then it was the right thing to do. My daughter is a strong woman, and I believed her. I had learned an expensive lesson, that real love isn't found in grand gestures, or the initial whirlwind of romance. It's found in the respect you're given in the smallest, most mundane moments. It's about having someone who is proud to hold your hand, to introduce you to the world, and who would never ever turn you into a joke that wasn't funny. And if I could walk away from a relationship that wasn't for me, I believed I could do anything.